Hello everyone and welcome again to another English with Joseph. Well, as you know, we've started a series of looking at famous things or people from British history. And of course, one very famous institution in British history is the British monarchy. The British monarchy, that is the British royal family. At the moment we have Queen Elizabeth II, and she has been on the throne for many years. What many people do not know about the royal family is that they are cousins with all of the other royals in Europe. Queen Victoria was the British Queen from, I think, the 19th century, which she must have been on the throne, I think, from 1840 or 1850 until 1901 or 1902. So she was a monarch who reigned between two centuries, the 19th century and the 20th century. They called her the grandmother of Europe because she had a very big family and her family married all of the other European royals. If you look at King Gustav of Sweden, his grandmother or great-grandmother was the daughter of Queen Victoria. If you look at the Spanish royal family, they also have very strong connections to our royal family. Now, I don't know all of the different lines of the family tree of the royals, but I can tell you that they're related to many of the other royals around Europe. I can also tell you that the Queen is the head of the Church of England, and that's because her ancestor, King Henry VIII, that's the one who had the 6 wives that I spoke about in an earlier podcast. He started the Church of England and he made himself the head of it. So that's been a tradition of the monarchs, of the kings and queens throughout history. Okay, so the European royal families. I don't know about other countries, but I know that in Britain there is a very divided opinion. Some people like the royals, but some people don't like them. For me, the question is not important. I don't really have a view of them. I don't know if I like them or if I don't like them. I really don't care, to be honest. The idea of having a royal family seems a little bit out of date. Well, some people think this, but it's also nice to have a tradition. It's nice to have something which is solid in your life. I know as I get older, I always look to the Queen for that view of stability. Some things never change. And if the Queen wasn't there, I don't know how I would feel really. It would be very strange to have a different person on the throne, even though she doesn't really affect my life in any way. Many American people have some strange ideas about our royal families. Some of them think that a royal family controls the world or has some kind of conspiracy against everyone. I don't think that's true, but I think the rumours may come from the idea that they represent everyone in the UK. And everyone means even the people that perhaps might have a bad reputation. For example, the Queen of England and her husband, Prince Philip, and indeed the Queen Mother, they are all patrons of the Masons, the Freemasonry movement, as well as other societies. And some people, because they think these societies are bad, they also think that our king or our queen must also be bad. Another thing about our royals is that if a daughter comes to the throne and she marries, he does not become king. But if a son marries, his wife will become queen. So, for example, the Queen Mother, she was queen because she had married the king. But Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, he is not king, he is prince. Because the king always gets favoritism. I know they're working to change these things, but the British Constitution is a little bit strange and old. In the old days, if a daughter was born and there was a son, then the son would become king and the daughter would not become queen. But because the queen and her sister, there were only two of them, there were no boys, then the queen had to take the throne. But now, in recent years, if, for example, Prince William had a daughter and she was the oldest, automatically she would become queen before the boys. Well, I hope that tells you something about the British royal family. Let's look at the words that we've learned today about the British royals. Well, we learned about the word monarch. A monarch is someone who rules over his part of the world. It's another name for the king or queen, a monarch. Then I used the word throne. Throne is a symbolic seat of power which our king and queens use. The throne. And you know, some English people, they always laugh because when they use the bathroom and they're sitting on the toilet, sometimes they call that the throne. I think it's because of the way it looks, because the royal throne is very small. So the throne is the seat of power which the royals use. It's a chair, but when we speak about it, we often speak about the idea of it. Who will take the throne, or who sits on the throne at this moment. It doesn't mean that they're really sitting there at this moment, but it's the idea of it. Family tree. Well, I spoke about the history of the royal family and their lineage. That is the lines of their family tree, because I said that in their family tree, that is, if you look at a diagram of all their families, it looks like a little tree with all the branches, so we call it a family tree. If you look at the family tree, you will see that all of the royals are related. The family tree is your ancestry, to see who your ancestors are. I spoke about Queen Victoria and how she covered and crossed between the 19th and 20th centuries. Some people find it confusing that in the 19th century, the 19th century begins with the numbers 1-8. For example, the year 1870 is in the 19th century, not the 18th century. The year 1900, 1902, and 1999 is in the 20th century. And right now, today, you and I, we are in the 21st century, even though the date is 2015, 2016, 2009, 2001. It's strange. It seems like we are sometime behind the name. I don't know why it's like that. but I suppose there must be a very good reason. But even I get confused sometimes when I'm talking about the 19th century, and then I have to remember, oh, the 19th century is not 1981. The 19th century would begin with 1881 or 1871 or something like this. Well, today I heard on the news that Sarah Ferguson, she is the divorced wife of Prince Andrew, who is one of the Queen's sons. She is going to live in Switzerland permanently. Well, I'm very happy because she doesn't really do anything to help my country anyway. And she's divorced from the prince, although I think they're very good friends. Many people really don't like her because she got herself into a lot of trouble and she had to borrow a lot of money from the Queen, which she's paying back. And she also was involved in some very bad scandals also. She has 2 daughters who are princesses, and I suppose that keeps her place in the royal family very secure, even though she is divorced. Well, that's all I want to say about the royal family today. So, I hope you've enjoyed it. Now, remember, you can find my English grammar books. The links are at the top here on Amazon. You can find me on Facebook. English with Joseph is the name. You can find me on Twitter, McTaggartJ7. And you can find all of these links on my blog, englishwithjosephblog.wordpress.com. As I said before, all the links are above this video clip in Dailymotion. I've tried to add them into each web clip, but it doesn't work because you can't click on them, so that's not much use. Anyway, you can go to my blog, englishwithjosephblog.wordpress.com, to see all the other things. Don't forget to check all of them out. Okay, so from Joseph, I hope you have a very good day. Thank you, and goodbye.